This is Meat Mitch, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike your match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good afternoon to you, and welcome to a special live edition of the Barbecue Central Show, where later on tonight we will actually talk about the most important things in the live fire barbecue and grilling community. If you were wondering why there was no live show last night, we moved the show until tonight, so 9 to 11. So not only within this next half hour of live content, is extremely important to get to, but at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight, we also have a new version of the Barbecue Central Show, which we have some great guests on this evening, a few recurring guests and a few new guests. So if you have nothing better to do over the course of 2 hours tonight, later in the evening, drop by and give the show a shot. So we are here 2 weeks removed from announcing the top 10 finalists for the 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame class. And today we will be announcing who is in the class. We'll also be announcing who the legacy members are, and we will find out if there is a Impact Award winner or not this year, because that's not something that happens each and every year. So lots to get to. And joining me, as they did 2 weeks ago, is Elizabeth Gunther and Amy Mills, American Royal and 17th Street BBQ, amongst many other things, respectively. So great to have you ladies with me here this afternoon as we learn who's going to make up the 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame class. Elizabeth, before we get going, why don't you give us a quick synopsis for the folks just dropping in? What's been happening since last we met announcing those top 10 finalists?
Absolutely. What has kind of been going on the back end of the Hall of Fame is once the top 10 semifinalists were announced, it went immediately to those past inductees to be voted on with the committee members as well. And so we have just been in the voting process. Votes came in last Friday. So I and the committee had the opportunity to make phone calls on Monday and Tuesday, yesterday. And that's kind of been everything rolling in.
This is very exciting. Amy, do you have any lead-in thoughts or opening statements here before we get going to realize who will make up the Hall of Fame class this year?
Well, it's very exciting to be part of this committee, but it's even more exciting for these 10 finalists. It's a huge deal to be on this short list, and we really do labor over all of the names and all of the applications, and it's such a diverse group of people choosing the finalists, and if you land on that list, you should just be extremely proud.
All right, so without any further ado, because everybody's busy, of course, and everybody wants to know where the results are, we will put a preface on this by saying in no particular order, of course. So we will go to Elizabeth for a name, and then Amy will give us a quick bio on who they are, just in case. If you're new to live fire or you're just getting into this hobby and you don't know the names, Amy will help you out in that regard as well. So, name number 1. Elizabeth, who do we have?
Danielle Bennett, also known as DBQ.
Wow. Holy moly. So fun fact before Amy fills us in on a DBQ, first timer on the list, which is a huge accomplishment because over the last couple of years, we've seen people having to be on 2 and even 3 times before crossing that threshold. So that probably speaks a lot to what Danielle has been able to accomplish over her career. And fun fact, Diva and I kind of got into this whole barbecue game right around the same time. So I've been doing the show live like 15, 16 years, 2 years before that as a podcast. And then I owned, if you can believe it, a barbecue forum when that was hot technology back like in 2004, just right around the time she was getting into competition barbecue at that point. So, Amy, what can you tell us about DivaQ?
Sure. Well, Danielle DivaQ really covers the gamut of barbecue celebrity. She is a certified barbecue and grilling expert. She teaches barbecue classes worldwide. She has taught over 20,000 students. She has an award-winning cookbook. She has been the host of a barbecue television show. She has over 400 barbecue awards to her name. So she is really encompassing so many areas of barbecue and excelling in them, but most importantly, really championing the sport of barbecue worldwide.
Incredible accomplishment, so we congratulate her on that.
May I say that?
Go ahead.
I cannot possibly read all of these papers. Like, there's so many. There's a lot, so I'm really giving the highlights. But I would encourage everyone to go to the website and click on each person, because these people really have a very illustrious story, each and every one of them. And so you will learn so much more about them as you click and read. And are those live on the website now, Elizabeth? Or will they be tomorrow?
They will be posted live later today.
Okay. Great.
So if you want to find out a little bit more, make sure you hit the website over at the Barbecue Hall of Fame, and you can read in depth about all these inductees into the class of 2024. So Danielle Bennett is in, and we have 3 more to get to. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Rick Brown.
Wow, Rick Brown.
Rick Brown, another first-timer to the list.
I was just going to say, fun fact, the second of first-timers there, so very good.
Exactly. So Rick, again, a renowned barbecue pitmaster, chef, journalist, really known for authoring 16 barbecue books, including Barbecue America, which I think is my favorite book, although I have all of his barbecue books. He has been the host of several barbecue shows on PBS. Let me see if I can click over to this one little fun fact here. He produced and hosted 91 episodes of Barbecue America. Oh. So 7 years worth of barbecue content on PBS, nationally televised. He is still out there working this every day. Recently, he was named as the U.S. correspondent for a German grilling and barbecue magazine, Fire and Food. It's the largest and most popular barbecue magazine in Europe. And he is also doing his own monthly online barbecue magazine as well. So he has just an incredibly long resume. We cannot possibly get to all of this, but again, I encourage you to go to the website and read about Rick, because I think because he's not at competitions per se, maybe some of your audience might not know of him, but very much a stellar name in barbecue.
When I think back to people that inspired me or that I first saw on television doing barbecue and grilling, PBS seems to always pop up as like 1 and 2 for me as far as stations. So with Steven Reichlin, and right around that same time, it was Rick Brown with Barbecue USA. So watching him do barbecue, watching Steven do barbecue really ignited my passion to continue down the live fire path. So congratulations to Rick Brown for making it in. 2 more left. Who do we have, Elizabeth?
Steve Grady.
3rd timer on the list. What do we know about Steve?
So Steve Grady is a name synonymous with Eastern Carolina whole hog barbecue. He is 89 years old. He continues to represent that essence of Eastern Carolina style barbecue. And his barbecue, Grady's barbecue, stands out not only for exceptional food, but as one of the only Black-owned barbecue restaurants in North Carolina. He and his wife, Gerald, spelled Geral, owned and operated that restaurant. So they opened their doors for business on July 4th, 1986, and they are still in business.
Wow. So good to see him. He had, again, a 3-year time on the finals list, which In its own right, very impressive because it's not guaranteed once you're on the 10's final list that you are automatically back there. You have to get re-argued for each and every year. So he's obviously important enough to make it there for 3 times in a row and now crosses over into the 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame class. And that leaves us with one name left. Of course, everybody wants to be in there. But Elizabeth, who do we have?
We have Fast Eddie.
Wow. Show favorite and friend, Fast Eddie. What do we know about Fast Eddie?
So Fast Eddie Morin, a name synonymous with Kansas City barbecue and of course pellet cooking and Cook Shack. So just a few highlights. He was a welder and fabricator. He joined the Kansas City Fire Department in 1987, and he cooked his first barbecue contest in 1986. His own team started in 1990. He's been a past board member of KCBS, so really serving in the trenches there. And, cooking in all of these events is really what led him to invent the pellet cooker. He holds a patent for the pellet cooker, and he has since developed a pellet pizza oven. So he has a patent pending for that pizza oven as well. And then, of course, he joined forces with Cook Shack to produce these pellet grills and pellet cookers that can go in commercial barbecue restaurants really all over the world. So a very important contribution to the world of barbecue and hitting so many facets of that barbecue world.
When I think of Fast Eddie, I don't know, aside from maybe Joe Traeger, if there has been a bigger proselytizer and a bigger promoter of pellet cooking in general. He liked pellet cookers so much that I think he was paying maybe a royalty to Traeger because he was taking some of their stuff and then converting it into his own stuff before the patent run out, and then started developing his own cookers. The FEC still is widely used on the competition circuit with a lot of championships and titles to its name, and found a lot of success in the backyards of a lot of homes as well. So it wasn't just a competition cooker. And then is now making pellets. And I mean, he's still a huge pellet promoter. And I'm glad you mentioned the firefighting aspect, because I did a really big deep dive on Fast Eddie last year when he made it into the Barbecue Central Show's Guest Hall of Fame last year. And we got to learn all about his history. And we spent quite a bit of time talking about the fire department and what kind of a toll that takes on a human being. So if you missed that, go back and check it out in the archives. But that rounds out the 4 for the Barbecue Hall of Fame. It's Daniel Bennett, Rick Brown, Steve Grotti, and Ed Moore and Fast Eddie. But we're not done yet. We also have a legacy portion to this. So Elizabeth, tell us about the legacy portion and what all that encompasses.
Absolutely. So the legacy category honors deceased individuals whose contributions to the barbecue industry have been excellent, and they were established. They helped establish the rich tradition of barbecue. And this, we all know barbecue has been. Barbecue is a culinary art that has been here for hundreds of centuries. And so it is being able to recognize those people that have kind of paved the way back early on, even in the 1800s. So these are the people that we want to recognize. And that's really what the legacy category is. Even though they're not here today, their history and legacy still stands on.
All right. And how many are going in this year?
We will have 3 this year.
3. All right. So if everybody's ready, go ahead and grab that first one. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
We have Matt Garner.
All right. Amy, what can we...
Oh, these are out of order. My list.
What do we know about Matt Garner?
So Matt Garner was born in Opelousas, Louisiana, and we do not even know his birth date, sometime between 1870 and 1880.
Wow.
He and his wife Helen moved to Houston around 1920 and opened Matt Garner's Barbecue Drive-In in a predominantly African-American central area, the Freedmen's Town neighborhood, east of downtown in Houston. And, that neighborhood was thriving in the 1900s. He combined his Creole influences with Southern barbecue techniques that he had learned from I don't know. It doesn't say who he learned those from, but he's really considered the father of East Texas style barbecue, for which Houston is known. So a name, very much recognized if you were a barbecue aficionado in the Houston or Texas area. He is credited with bringing, with the design of the rectangle brick pits that are used all over Texas, and also a recipe for the Beaumont-style sausage links that are very popular still in some barbecue restaurants. He was known as the Baron of Barbecue, and he died in 1945. So his daughter and his son-in-law actually continued serving the barbecue at their restaurant through the 1980s. So a very 100-year-old name in East Texas barbecue, and very deserving of being honored on this list.
That is Matt Garner, the Baron of Barbecue, and I know a different Baron of Barbecue, I think, but nice to know the original was out there too and is now part of the Hall of Fame. Right. We have a second name, Elizabeth, who's coming in.
Big Bob Gibson.
Oh, I know that name.
Yeah, so this name will be no stranger to anyone in your audience, but they may not know some of the history of Big Bob himself, because of course we think of Chris Lilly now when we think of Big Bob Gibson. But Big Bob started a restaurant in 1925, so they will be celebrating 100 years next year. Wow. This is in Decatur, Alabama. And this restaurant now has survived 100 years and 5 generations. So that is pretty amazing. Yeah. Very few restaurants like that. In the entire state of Alabama, there are 29 restaurants that are 50 years old or older. But he is really at the forefront of helping create his lineage, and people who worked for him opened more and more barbecue restaurants. So he's really the godfather of barbecue in Alabama. He is also known for this style of pit barbecue. It has a dirt floor, and the grease would just drop on the floor. The hickory coals would be shoveled underneath, absorbing the grease in that dirt. And weekly, the dirt is shoveled out and fresh dirt is put down so that no grease fires are occurring as grease upon grease drops on there. What I skipped over is the fact that in the 50s, all 5 of his children chose to be in the barbecue business. So some of them continued his restaurant, and some opened their own restaurants as well. So that name lives on and on. Besides his cooking techniques, I think we would all agree that his biggest contribution to the barbecue world is that Alabama white sauce. They're known for dipping the chickens in the sauce, and it's obviously giving flavor to the chicken, but also helping keep that chicken moist by creating another outer barrier layer after the chickens have been cooked. Big Bob was also in the first inducted class of the Alabama Barbecue Hall of Fame. So again, a most worthy name in barbecue, and now enshrined in the Barbecue Hall of Fame.
Amy, you know a lot about the history of restaurants and things that are associated with other things in barbecue. Is there a more distinct relationship between a state or city and a barbecue sauce than the white sauce with Alabama, specifically Decatur? Is it comparable, or is it bigger than Kansas City, for instance?
Not to my knowledge. I don't know of one that is 100 years old and has been celebrated, nationwide as much as that Alabama white sauce. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, but I'm going to give it to Big Bob.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly well known. And we have a third name, Elizabeth. Who do we have?
Jose Ramiro. I'm so sorry. Jose Ramiro, also known as Joe.
All right. Jose Joe Ramiro. Amy, what do we know about Joe?
Joe Ramiro is another old-time barbecue name and very well known in his time in California. He was born in San Diego in 1852. He moved to Los Angeles. He began working on a ranch, but along the way, he learned about barbecuing. And in the 1880s, he started out cooking barbecue for family gatherings and social gatherings. he started getting more catering requests. That was funny when I read that. I don't really think about catering in the 1800s as a thing, but obviously cowboy cooking and ranch cooking was certainly a style. He would also mix, along with his Hispanic heritage, traditional Mexican cuisine specialties in with his barbecue. So he would add enchiladas and tamales to the lineup. So one example of a catering job that he did, I have to read this, it's a lot. 1909, he and 50 assistants spent 2 days barbecuing 10,000 pounds of beef, pork, and mutton for a local Elks Club. And the largest event he remembers cooking was February 1924, a radio caravan barbecue at the La Jolla Lodge in San Francisco. 60,000 people showed up, but only 38,000 people got to dine on 20,000 pounds of meat, 3,500 pounds of salad, hundreds of pounds of frijoles, and 2,000 gallons of coffee.
Wow.
So that is quite a party. He had 70 years of experience in the barbecue world, and his name should absolutely go down in the history books, celebrating the people upon whose shoulders we stand today in the barbecue world.
When I hear about these stories in the mid 1800s, late 1800s, as you're recounting the story of Joe Romero feeding incredible tons of food, I'm also then reminded of Columbus B. Hill, who did something similar out in Colorado. And as they were trying to bide their time through getting all the food ready, they started giving out free beer, which ended up being like the most horrific idea ever. But he was cooking just, tens of thousands of pounds of food. I don't know. That could be one of those things where at that point might have been a little commonplace, but I don't think we're ever going to be in a spot or an event current time where we're going to be seeing 20,000 pounds of barbecue being cooked anymore. Do you, Amy?
I do not by one person anyway. I mean, we certainly did things like that on the streets of New York City for the Big Apple Barbecue Block Party, but that was cooked by 14 or 16 pit masters, not one. Although he does say, he had 50 assistants here, so he had some help.
Yeah, incredible. Last but not least, and as I mentioned in the open, it's not something that is required to happen every year. Do we have an Impact Award winner in 2024?
We do not.
No.
It is a perpetual award, so it doesn't have to be recognized every year.
All right. So here's what we do know. In the 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame, you will find Danielle Bennett, Rick Brown, Steve Grotti, and Fast Eddie Morin. And in the legacy portion, we have Matt Garner and Big Bob Gibson and Jose Joe Romero. So we wish everybody congratulations. Then you're going to start seeing a whole bunch of social media postings, but you're getting it here first. Elizabeth, before we wrap it up here, anything you want to promote or talk about that's happening here over the next couple weeks?
Actually, yes. Tomorrow, the World Series of Barbecue team registration opens, so be on the lookout for that, and you can register your team. This year, again, it's a little later. It's October 3rd through November 3rd. October 30th through November 3rd.
All right, Amy, anything you're looking to promote or have going on that we should know about here over the next few weeks?
Well, not a lot has changed in the past 2 weeks, but we are still clicking along with our barbecue contest signups. We are proud to announce that we are part of a Grand Slam event that's going to be sponsored by Illinois Soy. There will be 4 contests. The first one is in July, and that one is filling up. So if you're interested in getting in on this points chase with the finale at Praise the Lard, with some nice checks, and of course those Apple trophies will be awarded for that as well. That is going to be a really neat little 4-part series. And the contest will be, the meats considered for that contest will be your scores on chicken, ribs, and pork, not beef.
All right.
So it's pretty exciting.
Sounds great. This is Amy Mills from 17th Street Barbecue, and of course from the American Royal, Elizabeth Gunther. Ladies, appreciate you joining me as we reveal who makes up the 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame class. continued success to both of you. And Amy, hopefully it's not like next year until we talk. So I'll keep after you to come on the show. But Elizabeth, hopefully
we'd
we
be
can.
delighted.
Yes, let's do that. And then Elizabeth, will do it again next year as long as you'll have me.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much. There they are. Amy Mills and Elizabeth Gunther, American Royal and 17th Street BBQ. If you're just tuning in and you missed all of the announcements, going in as living inductees, Daniel Bennett, Diva Q, of course, Rick Brown from TV and book fame, Steve Grotti, a restaurateur extraordinaire and a 3-time finals list maker, and Fast Eddie Morin rounding out the 4. Danielle and Rick, both first-timers on the list. Very impressive there. And Ed was a second-timer on this list. And then there was legacy inductees, Matt Garner, Big Bob Gibson, and Jose Joe Romero. And that's how we finished the 2024 Barbecue Hall of Fame. We'll break it down a little bit here this evening as we get into the show. Remember, live show tonight, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Rashid Phillips will lead the show. Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com. And then the second hour, Susie Bullock makes her quarterly appearance. And we'll close it out with Brianna Stark from Married to Barbecue. If your nominee, or favorite in that finals list didn't get picked, make sure you're renominating them again. Always nominate. Never think that somebody else is going to nominate them for you. Always do that, because then you have some time span on your side. And then it's up to the names committee from there. We'll do it again next year. We will again break it down tonight. And of course, we will go in depth with it next week with the embedded correspondence on that 4th Tuesday. So, how do I always leave it? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. And until tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
This is Dion Blumenrader with Big Hoss One Sauce, and you're listening to the best show on all things barbecue with my man, Greg Rempe.